Yeah, hi, I'm John Coates, third generation resident of this area. Um, my grandfather came here about 103 or 4 years ago. It's been a good place to live. My son, who's fourth generation obviously, he's involved with the earthworks in the Mangatū forest. It's one of our local forests up the road here. And yeah, it seems to keep us pretty busy. There's good people live in the area. I think a lot of it's probably hereditary, our family, roots, if you like to put it that way. It's not a bad place to live. It's a good place to live. It's not the thriving metropolis of some places, but it's in its heyday it was a great little town, with numerous shops and hairdressers and TABs and electrical stores, and it was it was a fun place to grow up. I went to school here obviously, and still know a lot of the people around today that I went to school, started primary school with, and it's good to see them come back to now and again. You bang into guys that I haven't seen for a few years, and they know that I'm still here, and I think it's quite a nice thing to be like tied to an area for a long time. My parents' friends come back and say you people were still living here. It's quite amazing. Some people find that hard to believe. But it's quite a nice thing to have a base, and that people know where you are. That's the other side of it. Yeah, well, there's a few trains of thought on that one, but obviously they're all put together. There's government policy for one thing. They wanted to centralise a lot of things like their councils, which was actually quite a big employer in Te Karaka, and that there was also the forestry with the farming, a lot of it going into forestry. Not so much as farms being amalgamated, and the less of a need for extra staff. By making bigger properties, they needed, joining two together, making one out of two, you lost a staff member, and it all adds up. The bypass obviously was a big factor into in bringing people into Te Karaka for the shops, for that side of it. Yeah, I think it's pretty much general across the country too. I think if you look around, a lot of small rural towns are going through the same process. It's obviously it's the sign of the times. Te Karaka on a Friday night, and the hotel was booming, and the old man would be in the hotel talking to his drivers, and me and the young guys would be up in the playground outside, and with a packet of fish and chips, and the town was alive. There was people everywhere, and there's this really, really sort of big excitement on a Friday night in Te Karaka. People came to town from down out of the hills, and did their shopping at the Four Squares shop in Te Karaka, and it was those were real neat times, yeah. And there was always something going on. I mean, there was a dance at the Puhao Hall. We had a hall here on the farm here that was a centre for the community centre sort of thing, where just about every Friday or Saturday night there would be a dance or something, and or at the Te Karaka Scout Hall it'd be the same thing. If it wasn't here, it was down there, or at one of the maraes, and there would be always something on. And it was it doesn't seem to happen so much these days because I suppose there's more things to do for the younger generation to just stay at home and play on their PlayStations or watch DVDs or whatever. But back then, yeah, we did sort of make a bit of our own fun, Yeah, it was a good time, real good time. Yeah, bowler was well, for one thing, first off, it was never predicted by the Met guys. I mean, they said there was a bit of a lower out off East Cape, and they expected a certain amount of rain, but nothing like what they got. And it was, I mean, some areas got 800, 900, I don't know, mils in a very short time. We sort of realised that after about the second day of rain that there was a bit more to it, and that we'd been warned. I think we got a telephone call. That's what I say. I wasn't living here at the time. I was living up the road on a small farm further up the road, and I came down to get the stock off after I was given a call from the district council. They had their river recording gear at the Kanakanai Bridge, and they said it was coming up real fast. So clear all the stock off the flats, get them up to higher ground, and yeah, it was all on after that. It just by the time I turned around to go back home, I couldn't get home. The river had come up that quick. Overnight, the bridge approaches to the Puha Bridge over here washed completely out. There was a 6 metre gap between the end of the bridge and the road, and water flowing between there and the bank, and you couldn't go to town because, well, for one thing, the road was still flooded, and obviously the bridge was blown out. The road to Wharatutu was still open, yeah, and you could go up to the township there. But that was about it. You couldn't go much further, so we were basically trapped here for a week or so.
Yes, Bowler was it didn't give any warning. I was driving a school bus at the time. I was up the Kanakanai, and we couldn't get right up to where my bus usually goes to. So I said to the kids, well, look, you fellas have to walk across this bit of water here. That's right at the end, and they walked away, and I thought, oh well, they're safe. So when I came back into the Te Karaka area, back into the depot, I just got across the Kanakanai Bridge, and that was flooding over at the time, and that's only within about 4 or 5 hours rain, but then it really pelted down, and at night it was very, very frightening for us to move the elderly to safety. A lot of them didn't want to move. A lot of them said, no, they'll be right. We've had floods before, but it certainly wasn't like the Bowler. And over the years, usually every 7 or 10 years, we have a flood, and we could cope with that, but this time we just didn't have the answer. And we were prepared with the flood banks. The council put up flood banks, but they burst in 2 areas and allowed the water to come into the living area of Te Karaka, which made a hell of a mess. Bowler was a tragedy, really. Tragedy. I say a tragedy because the farmers around the area lost a lot of animals, a lot of their stock, and really put them on the back foot. But thanks to the government later, they got Bowler assistance from the government, and yeah, I think they came out all right after that, but it was really trying time for them and for us. We're right in the square here in Te Karaka, and we were very panicking at the time. Families were evacuated to our high school over here, where the building was right up high, plus busloads of people were taken down to the marae, our local marae, for sleeping and feeding. The marae committee turned on the food and cooking facilities. So did the fire brigade. The fire brigade also did a lot of cooking and sent the. We couldn't get down there by driving down to the pa. We went across on boats from where we were cut off just down the road here, and the food was relayed from there. But yes, it was a real trying time.
A helicopter flew in and said that my wife was up at my place and she was obviously alone up there. I had been talking to her and she said she was all right, but the helicopter, the pilot said he'd fly me back up there. So he flew me back into the Whakarau Valley, and I was stuck there we were all stuck there for about 6 or 7 weeks. I had a bulldozer. I think Civil Defence had said to everyone who had a machine at the time to get out and just start trying to open your roads up. So that was what I was doing for 6 or 7 weeks solid. The council were flying in diesel, which was great. They'd drop it on site with a helicopter, and I think we were getting sort of sometimes up to 4 or 5 helicopters a day landing on the tennis court at home up there, and just to make sure we were all right. We were still eating groceries about 3 years later. Some of the tin goods we got. There's some little funny stories about the shepherds, the delivery of supplies, and it wasn't until they got the stock agents involved with the distribution of goods from town to up these outlying stations that they realised that the stock agents were the best guys, because they knew whether they had young kids or and that smartened the act up a bit. But because prior to that they had there were some funny stories about a group of young shepherds got women's products and nappies and makeup and stuff like that. But once the organisation was put in place in town, it was pretty good. They the right goods out to the right people, and it was a long 6 or 7 weeks stuck in there, not being able to go anywhere.
For some families, they lost most of everything. One farmer, I think he had to shut down altogether, and he had nothing left, not even a house, a wool shed. All his yards had been taken by Bola. And yes, it was really, really a trying time for us. One incident with my family, my son had horses on over the Rangitura there, and they were washed out of their paddock, and we lost 2 for about 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later I got a ring from Mr. Johnson from down Kocheratai to say that there was a couple of horses down on his property, down on the flats, and they're pretty run down. So I went down and had a look. Sure enough, they were my horses, and they were swept from here, from the bridge right down past his place, and that's about 7 kilometres. So and my son had another 4 on the other side of the bridge. They were too scared to come across the bridge, so he ran across the flood. The bridge was being rocked by the flooding, and I know it wasn't the thing to do, but he loved his horses that much. He just ran across there and got them all over. Yeah, that was one incident, and a lot of people had their ups and downs, especially the women of the area. They had to make do with what they what they had in the house. We had helicopters come and drop in food for us because we were shut off from Gisborne, shut off from the other area, from Matawai, Potiki, and we were isolated. After that, when things settled down a bit, the council and the mayor of Gisborne, who was our local mayor, he got together about 10 gangs, asked around to do the clean-up, and we all congregated at the fire brigade, sometimes at the Waikato Council, and then the clean-up jobs were really good, especially for the farmers themselves. They had mud right up around their fences and debris on the fences we had to clean off. Yeah. But there was about 3 months' work there for a lot of the boys over the years.
But yeah, I think we were one of the last valleys to be opened up, that Whakarau Valley, to be able to get out. You know. It kept me going for years and years. Someone asked me, "Oh, you would have got a few months' work out of that." Well, I didn't. I probably got about 12 or 13 years. You know, you still saw the damage that was done. It took years to repair on the farms. You know, the tracks were blown out, and you know, some farms had no tracks left at all. You know, they're farm tracks. You know. So you're basically building new roads, and that was quite hard too, because where the roads were originally was the best place to go, and once they've blown away and they've gone, you know, you're down to rock. So a lot of the farms were put into forestry rather than trying to revert them back into, especially up the Tāwhai Pyro further up the road. But it was a big event for the town. It was you know, they had their own disaster relief thing going in Te Karaka, where they had where they're distributing goods from the council offices there, and it was good to see people come together, you know, and everyone do their bit. It was a time when people sort of jumped in to help. You know, we had guys here from the South Island helping to clean up this place with the fences. The South Island farmers sent any spare staff they had up from down there to work in some atrocious waist deep silt, and yeah, so it was all pretty good. Yeah, the community effort was good. Yeah. Every now and again someone will bring up the fact, you know, start talking about something about bowler, and all of a sudden it's sort of a half an hour, 3/4 of an hour long yarn and reminiscence, and there is some incredible stories out there about, you know, things that happened, and we were lucky we didn't lose people here. You know, we were very close to losing the flood bank at Te Karaka. Was only newly formed. It had only just been up for about it wasn't finished. I'm sorry, it wasn't, the bank wasn't finished. It was finished far enough past Te Karaka to divert the water, the main flow of the water past Te Karaka and out and downstream. Had that 18 inches of dirt not been put on top of that flood bank, there would have been a major catastrophe down there. They would have lost people. You know. It was only the fact that 18 inches of extra, and it was only soft dirt too. You got to remember, it was only just been. They were still building it. When you look from here, from this place here down to Te Karaka, which is probably about 2 k's as the crow flies, it was one massive river flowing straight towards Te Karaka. So I just thought, well, Te Karaka's gone. And we didn't know either. No telephones, everything wiped out. But it was that little bit of dirt on top of that bank that saved TK. Otherwise, it would have been wiped off the face of the earth. And the force of it was incredible. Frightening actually. Yeah.
yeah, good luck to all you young guys, young couples, and hopefully you'll have a very good life in Te Karaka.